Hi, everybody. So great to be with you today. My name is Cynthia Morrison, and I'm the person that had a lot to do with actually developing the activities and so on for Where Does It Go? So I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to talk to you a little bit about it. I know you've had a little bit of experience with it as well now. And so let's hope that, that I can introduce it to you in a way that makes it easier for you to work with it. So I'd like to start off with just going through the table of contents with you. And with the table of contents, it gives us everything in at one glance, what's in the playbook. And also it helps us to talk a little bit about all the contents that obviously that are in there that I'd like to focus on with you. So let's have a look now at the actual concepts we're going to be discussing in the playbook, or that we'll be using in the playbook. If we look at activity 1, color concepts, we see that each part of it has got a number. Activity pack 1A, and there we are introducing the color concepts of red, green, yellow, and blue. And all the cards that are in that set will be marked 1A. Then activity pack 1B is talking about black, purple, brown, and orange. So these are slightly different colors than what children are normally doing in preschool. But it's also to practice their discrimination, because some children find it quite difficult to distinguish the difference, for example, between brown and orange. So this is just making sure that those discrimination skills are being practiced, and also that other colors are being introduced there. And then in activity pack 1C, you can see there it's advanced color concept. So there the child is going to, for example, be looking at different shades of red and has to understand that all of those shades are actually the same color and still are called red. So you've got activity pack 1A, 1B, 1C, and if any of your cards get mixed up and are lying around, you just look at the card, have a look at the number on it, and you can put it right back in the play pack that it goes to. So then we're doing object shape and length concepts. So once again, we're doing general concepts, and these are of clothing actually. And then also you're starting then with something which is slightly different, and that is a little bit of problem solving. This is where down one side, or the child must look at two things. They must look at an item of clothing, and they must look at the color of that item of clothing. So it could be a shirt, but the shirt could be red or blue or pink or whatever the color might be. And the child must figure out with both of those things or getting them to choose the correct card. Okay, then we come to geometrical shapes, and the same story again. It's the basic visual discrimination and the vocabulary of those shapes. And then again, you're starting to match with two different criteria, which would be shape and color. And then in this one, activity pack 3C is something rather advanced. And that is where, for example, if the child looks at a picture of a triangle, he must understand that a sign on the side of the road is a triangle. A triangular shaped cake is also a triangle. So it's where, in fact, in your classrooms, you would be saying to the children, here's a picture of a rectangle. What all in this classroom is rectangle? It could be the window, it could be the door, but that is actually a very, very advanced thing to be doing with children. And then we come to quantity, and that's developing number concept. And that's just a little bit different in the sense that the child is matching patterns of dots. First of all, from 1 to 4, and then from 3 to 6. So the constancy comes there where, for instance, if I'm looking at this here, and you can see that this is 4, you have to understand that this is also 4, and that this is also 4. And until you've understood that, you haven't really got a concept of what 4 is. Okay, and then activity pack 5 is talking about size. And here, what we really want is we want children to notice the order of things. It's an order. So it goes from the biggest to the smallest, or it could go from the smallest to the biggest. And these are just familiar objects which the children should have the names of and all that. And there are plenty of activities to be doing with that. And we'll be talking about some of them when we go through color, which introduces most of them. What I'd like to do now is, and let me just find myself here. Okay. I'd like to go to page 1, which is the introduction page. And just to say that it says somewhere there, it helps children to learn to work in groups and all of those sorts of things. But the point that I would like to make is that you need to invite the children in to come and play. And you need to make them think that this is the most fun thing that there is to do. And the way you speak to those children sets the tone for having fun. And just remember, this is not a test situation. It is not where you're trying to find out what a child can do, although you will find out what he can do as you go along. The main thing about it is that you want this to be a fun experience. We all know about play-based learning. We all know about learning through play. And so play is the key factor. It must be fun. And that's why sometimes some of the activities say, the adult puts a card down and then afterwards give the child a chance to put the cards down for you to guess, because that makes it an interactive type of game. And that you're going to get much more learning than if the child is sitting there thinking, oh, am I going to get this right? Oh, I need to know. Just turn it into a fun activity. Okay, so now we're going to go through, let's go to the next page and see where we are. Okay, so I think you've had a bit of experience with these, but I'll just go through it very quickly. The basic piece of material that you have, the basic equipment that you have, is this baseboard. And the baseboard has got squares in the center of it, and it's got margins. And the two margins that you are particularly going to be working with are the top margin and the side margin on the left. Okay, then I think our next thing that we need to look at is, okay, so in this one, you see that you've seen in the table of contents that you've got multiple packs of different activities. So this is the one of the color one, and what you can see there is on the left-hand side in the left margin, there are cards with a black border around them. So we call that question cards, and question cards are actually the cards that the child has to try and match. It's asking the question of the child, find another red one like this. And the cards that the children answer with don't have a black line around them. So we call those answer cards. And you can see there, as I mentioned, when we looked at table of contents, each card has a number on it, and it's circled there in black. And so you'll be able to find that number. And if a piece lands up somewhere, you'll be able to put it with its right pack. Right, this is in terms of, you have to decide which of your activities you're going to use. You must get your baseboard out. You must get out your activity pack that you want to use, so that you've got all your materials handy with you. And then also you're going to have instructions that go along with that activity for you to follow. Once you've become familiar with those activities in there, you hardly need to use your playbook. You'll know exactly what the sequence is. But in the beginning, it's a good thing to follow those instructions because they are graded, developmentally graded, so that it helps it helps the child to move from what is easy to what is more difficult. Right, so then we come to looking at the at how many children you're going to allow to play at one time. It could be one child, or it could be a group of children up to 3 to 4 children. Sometimes it depends on the child. Maybe if it's a child that you think is perhaps a little bit slower than others, or so you may rather want them to play on their own. Or you just want to have a good idea of each child's abilities with the different skill areas. But just remember what I said at the very beginning. You invite the child to play and you make it playful. You make it playful. It's not like it's a test. It's not like, here we are sitting down to do work now. It's not like that at all. It's the fun of seeing if I can find something that goes with this. It's that fun element that has to be there if it's going to be learning through play. So as you can see, the activities have been graded from easy level 1 to difficult level 4. And just make sure, at least just rather, as I said before, if it's more difficult, it doesn't mean that that's for older children, that's all that they must do. Older children must also start with level 1 and move through to the more difficult level. So although each level has a recommended age, and that you'll see that level and age at the top of the page here, remember that it means that it's suitable for that age group, but there's no reason why older children can't be playing with activities for younger children, and in fact they should. If you're going up to, say, level 3, and a child is experiencing difficulty there, rather go back to level 2 so that at the end of your session the child has experienced success. It's never a happy time for a child if he feels he's failing and he ends his session, his play session, with a feeling of failure. Rather, just gently take him back to a previous one and let him experience the fun of success. Next one then. Familiarize yourself with the instructions. That's important. Read through them and know what you're going to be doing. And just remember that if you put cards in one margin, it's normally got to do with matching and sorting. So you, as an adult, you put your cards at the top in some instances, and the child has to match in the little blocks below what goes with what. Now, just remember that the child is matching in the blocks, but your question cards will be going in the margins. The margin at the top or the margin on the side, and the child will be putting their answer cards in the squares, in the blocks, in the middle. Okay, so you could sometimes have things at the top, question cards at the top. Other times you're going to have question cards down the side, and sometimes you will have question cards down the side and at the top, and that's when children have to match two things at the same time. So in the example that you've got there, you've got your clothing. So in the first square, you're going to be putting, and I can't quite see it, but it looks like that's the dress. In the first square, you will have to put a brown dress. And in the next square, you're going to have to put a brown T-shirt. And so it goes on. So the child is manipulating two concepts at the same time, and that is problem solving. Okay, so now we're going to go through one of the activities to show you how they appear in your playbook. And so we'll do color, because that is the first one, and it says activity 1A, and there it says that the colors you'll be working with are red, green, yellow, and blue. And we have also tried to show you which of the elders are covered with each and every activity. Okay, let's have a look at the next one then. Okay, so here we have 1A. With each of your activities, you're also going to see that there's a goal of this activity pack. So it's the goal of this one is to develop the child's concept of red, green, yellow, and blue by making sure, first of all, that the child can see the difference between those four. So if a child, as some children do, have a difficulty between green and yellow, you'll immediately notice that because the child puts the yellow on next to the green ones. And what you need to do then is you might need to go onto your support steps to show you how to help the child to understand the differences between them. Right. Then also you want to confirm knowledge of or develop the vocabulary of these four colors. And there are two types of vocabulary that we look at. The one is receptive vocabulary. That means understanding what I'm hearing. So if I say point to a red one, the child can point to a red one without speaking. Okay, but the other one is then expressive vocabulary. So if you were to point to a card and say, what color is this? The child could name it. And just remember always that receptive vocabulary, or the ability to understand the word, always comes first before the expressive. And so you might find a child saying, oh, there's red, but in fact he's looking at something blue. He knows the word red, but he doesn't understand the meaning of that word. So that's what this activity is doing. It's helping the child to understand the actual concept. And then every single activity pack has got loads of other words that children are going to learn. Besides red, yellow, green, and blue, for instance, here, they're going to learn top and bottom. Okay, and then things across, down, one at a time. These are all mathematical concepts. These are all words of mathematical vocabulary that the children are going to become very, very familiar with as they go through all the activities here in this in this resource that you have. So let's have a look at the different levels and what they cover. So level 1 is normally exact matching and sorting with support. That means that the adult is really working with the child, playing with the child, helping the child to understand about it all. Then level 2 is exact matching and sorting without support. This is now when you're giving it to the child, and the child must figure out what to do more or less on their own. And that is what you can start with from children aged 3 and up. Okay, and then level 3, it's not that it's moving on from exact matching and sorting. It's just that it's quite a lot more of a difficult activity. And that is copying, which involves visual analysis, sequence, and visual memory. And then level 4, listening. Now, from my point of view as a speech therapist, I honestly feel that listening skills are very weak in most children. Most adults just bark orders at their children. You know, it's time to get ready, it's time to go, sit down and eat, go and have your bath or whatever. There's not very much communication going on anymore, and especially with TV, where the children they watch the whole time. They don't really have to listen to what's going on. They can see with their eyes what's going on. Listening skills are very weak. Now, listening is very, very important for reading comprehension. And so children will perhaps not understand what they're reading only because actually their verbal listening skills are poor. And so their reading skills are also poor. So, and not a lot of people work on listening skills with children, which is why we make a point of doing this with this resource. Okay, so here we have it. You've got you're starting off with the top margin. You've got your question cards in the top margin, and you're expecting the child to match the cards below. So it says you've actually got your level 1 steps. So again, it says this can be played with one child or with a small group. And remember, it's got to be fun. It's in step 1, it says, put the red question card in the top margin above the first column and say, I'm putting this one at the top. This is a red one. So this is very, very basic. This is for your very, very young child. Your very young child that doesn't have much experience at all. And so you may, with older children, you may be able to skip this, but remember, if it's an older child that is slow at learning, he'll need to have this as well. So then, this is a red one. Hold up the red answer card. Ask one of the children to take it and put it in the block below the other one. There you can see our word below the other one, and pointing to the correct block. So you're literally taking the children's hands virtually and helping them step by step to understand what needs to be done over here. If the child is unsure, you literally take their hand and help them to put it. It's no good you putting it there. You want the child to feel that he's accomplishing something, so you take the child's hand and help them to put it in the correct place. Then step 2, put the green question card in the top margin above the second column and say, now I'm putting the green one. Hold up the green answer card and say, here's another green one. Can you put it in the block? And now you're waiting for the child to respond, because with the first column, you've really helped him as much as you can. Now with the second one, you want to see how much he can do on his own. If he can do it, well and good. If he can't do it, you repeat what you did with step 1 with the red card. Okay, right. And then step 3, if one of the children manages to place the green answer card without help, place the yellow and blue above the third and fourth columns, naming each color as you do that, and then you ask the child to put them down there. So it's a question of making it a bit, there's more choices now. The child isn't being led by the hand. He's sort of having to figure it out for himself. And then the final step would be to take all the cards off the board. You put your 4 question cards in the top in the same order as before. Give the child all 4 answer cards and ask him or them to put them in the right place. And then if you have trouble, you try your step 1, step 2, step 3. And if that doesn't work, you go to the support step 1A on page 28, which is going to give you how to do it in even greater detail. Okay, so now we've had a look at the very first one, which was with support. Now, if you notice, in the top left-hand corner of your pages, you'll see there it's level 2 and it's age from 3. So there you always have some idea of what level this activity is pitched at. So, as I've said before, for younger children, stick to the levels. For older children, start at the lower levels and move up to make sure that they haven't missed out on anything. Okay, so in this particular one, you've got your question cards at the top again, and down here you've got all your steps in the same way as we had with the first one. It's hard to do it, but now you are actually mixing up the cards, sometimes having them face up, sometimes having them face down, and the children have to select them and put them in the right one. Okay, so it's scaffolded, it's graded, it's moving on to greater levels of difficulty, and always you are asking, either you give the name or you ask the child to give you the name. If the child can't give you the name, you name it. It's not such a good idea to ask other children to name it if a child can't name it, because then he thinks they are cleverer than he is. So if he can't name it, you name it. Okay, and I think it's really quite straightforward to follow these steps. But as I said to you, it will be a good thing if you familiarize yourself with the instructions beforehand. Okay, so now we're moving on to the next one, which is level 3. We've taught them about red and green and all those different colors in levels 1 and 2. Now we are using those same cards for different, more complex activities. So there you can see level 3, the age is from 4. If you feel that you think that one of your children at age 3.5 to 3 3/4 might manage this, there's no harm in trying that. But remember that it's always better for children to feel success than failure. So in this one, what you want to do is you want children to copy a pattern that you have made. So in the top, you put yours again, and in the answer cards are going to be placed by the child. So you're asking the child to copy the pattern exactly. So in other words, whatever is the first card must be the first card that the child puts there. Whatever is the second is the second. The big key is, again, make it fun. And so that's where you might sometimes say to the child, okay, you make me a pattern. Let's see if I can copy it. Because that is interactive and it's making the child feel that he's got control now, and that the two of you are in this together. So it would be a good thing to do that. Okay, so now we come to activity 1A, level 4 this time, and its age is from 4 years. But now in this case, you want children to listen, you want them to follow instructions, and you want to have some type of an auditory memory. Okay, so in the first place, you have got 4 of the question cards, and the child has got 4 of the answer cards. And you decide in what order you are going to name them. So you might say red and yellow. Then you put your cards upside down in the same order. Red would be upside down in front of column 1, and green, for example, would be upside down in front of column 2. And the child has heard what you've said, and now they've got to put the same cards down as you spoke about them. The red one first and then the green one. And then the child can turn your cards the right way up again and have a look to see if he heard you correctly. So that is really listening. This is particularly about following instructions. It's particularly about auditory memory. And with 2, you could start with 1, for example, actually, if they had trouble with 2. And it's just to see that the child can have a memory of up to 4 colors that you've asked them to do. So that would be, if the child is not successful, try a few with only 2 cards. Remember, that's so important for success. And just make it fun. So to make it fun is for the child to tell you 2 colors, and for you to put down and to see if you got it right. And hold thumbs that you do get it right, okay? Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, so we're just quickly going to go through this to show you that each of these the next activities all work in the same way. So this is activity 1, still color, but now it's activity 1B. And with 1B, we're doing black, purple, brown, and orange. You've still got your elders that are covered there. Let's have a look at the next one. There you've got your the basics, what your pack looks like. It's telling you what the goal is. So in this case, it's to develop the child's concept of black, purple, brown, and orange by making sure they can see the differences. Remember, some children might get confused between orange and brown. So it's to make sure that they've understood it. And then again, confirming knowledge, vocabulary, all those vocabulary words are more or less the same, but not exactly the same for each single activity. In your playbooks, okay? And then here again, you get exact matching and sorting from 3.5. So in other words, what we are saying is that children at 2.5 are too young to be looking at these 4 more complex colors, and that we're only expecting it from children of 3.5 years. And then level 2 would be copying, visual analysis, what we did before, and then level 3 is also listening. So if we look at the next page, once again, you can see it tells you level 1, it tells you age from 3.5. It shows you what you have to do. It gives you all your steps developmentally, just exactly the same as all the others. And again, it tells you if you need support steps, where to go. Then we have activity 1B, level 2. And again, it shows you the diagram of what you have to do and the steps actually one by one. So the diagram helps you a lot, I think, to be able to figure out what you need to do. Okay, next one. Again, here it's activity 1B, but now you see it's level 3 and it says age from 4.5. So we definitely feel that the 4 basic colors are going to be easier for children to cope with than these 4 advanced colors. And so it goes on. They are the same, but the instructions obviously slightly different. Here we have the support steps. So here you can see it tells you in a bit more detail about how to do it. So help by taking one of the answer cards. If, for instance, in support step 1A, B is the same, child points. It literally takes you step by step by step through what you must do if the child can't find it, can find it, but names it incorrectly, step by step. And as I said, this is something that you might really be needing to use with children that have some special needs, a little bit slower than other children, children that haven't had a lot of exposure, parents don't talk to them a lot, and that sort of thing. So you might need the support steps for that. Okay, so I think that we've given you a bit of an overview now of how the playbook is laid out. And I just wish you the most tremendous fun in using this equipment. I had fun developing it. And I think the children are going to have fun with it because basically it takes them step by step through important concepts that they have to learn. Thank you.